Part 28. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 271. After Dai Guo finished speaking, he seemed to suddenly remember something and asked, "Where are the people from the Biochemical Research Institute?" "They are all dead. When we arrived there a few days ago, everyone inside had turned into zombies, leaving only the director." Wang Feng told the truth. "Director? Is it, Dr. Gu Changshen?" Dai Guo's eyes lit up and he asked again. "That's right. His name is Gu Changshen," Wang Feng nodded. "Where are the people?" Dai Guo seemed anxious. Wang Feng hesitated for a moment, then turned around and nodded to Tang Haoshan. Tang Haoshan hurriedly ran to the front of the convoy, because Gu Changshen was a living treasure for the Hope Base, so he naturally had to stay in the Hurricane, which was the safest place. If the serum he mentioned was really developed, it would be the real hope of mankind. "Humph. Dai Guo. What else do you have to say?" Dai Jianfeng saw Tang Haoshan leading people and asked Dai Guo again. "Even if I have something to say, I can't say it to you." "You stay here, damn it," Dai Guo said unhappily. "Humph," Dai Jianfeng snorted coldly and said nothing more. After a while, Tang Haoshan brought Gu Changshen here. Dai Guo hurriedly stepped forward, saluted Gu Changshen, and then said, "Hello. I am Dai Guo, the commander of the 5th Army of the R Group Army. I am here to rescue Dr. Gu under the order of my superiors." Dai Jianfeng also came to Gu Changshen at this time, saluted as well, and said, "I am Dai Jianfeng, the deputy commander of the 5th Army of the R Group Army. I am ordered to take you back. Dr. Gu. Come with us." Gu Changshen rolled his eyes, snorted, and asked Dai Jianfeng, "Whose order did you come here?" Gu Changshen didn't have a good impression of Dai Jianfeng. Because he was in the Hurricane, although he didn't see Dai Jianfeng shooting, he saw all of Dai Jianfeng's performance before. For such a person, he naturally didn't have a good face. Dai Jianfeng was stunned, then replied, "My superior's order." "Oh," Gu Changshen nodded, and asked again casually, "Which superior?" "My superior, the commander-in-chief of the R Group Army." "Wang Tao," Dai Jianfeng answered loudly, with some dissatisfaction in his tone, "this stupid old man. Why are you talking so much? If it weren't for the superior saying that you are a talent and very useful, and ask me to be polite, why would I answer your questions? Just arrest him and leave. Anyway, you don't have the final say when you get there." "Oh. Your superior. What does that have to do with me? I'm not on duty in the army. I'm not under the command of the army. Go back and tell your commander Wang that next time you hire someone, find someone sensible, don't throw out all the ugly ones, and make me sick to death." After saying that, Gu Changshen nodded slightly to Dai Guo next to him, then turned and left. Tang Haoshan laughed, then walked forward and followed Gu Changshen to Hurricane with his arm around his shoulder. The few words Gu Changshen said were very much to Tang Haoshan's liking. With just a few words, Tang Haoshan regarded Gu Changshen as a friend. Gu Changshen's words also made Wang Feng, Gui Wuivang, and others feel relieved, and at the same time they were very happy. Because they promised Dai Guo, they would not kill Dai Jianfeng. Now seeing Dai Jianfeng's face turning blue and white, everyone felt relieved. They didn't expect that this researcher would be so mean when scolding people. It seems that it's better to avoid this doctor in the future. "Stop," Dai Jianfeng was so angry that he shouted loudly, "Don't blame me for being rude if you don't stop." "Dai Jianfeng. What the hell are you doing? I'm not dead yet." Dai Guo was furious and shouted loudly. "This general. I see your military rank is only a major general, right?" Gu Changshen turned around and looked at Dai Jianfeng and asked. "What's wrong with the major general?" Dai Jianfeng gritted his teeth and said. "What's wrong with the major general?" Gu Changsheng turned around and smiled softly. I know why your commander wants you to save me, because he knows that I can research the serum to resist the zombie virus. I guess he shouldn't have told you this, right? Dai Jianfeng and Dai Guo were stunned at the same time. They really didn't know this. Sure enough. Then think about it. When I get to you, in your commander's heart, are you more important or am I more important? When he came out, he must have told you to be polite to me and don't offend me, right? Gu Changsheng sneered. Unfortunately, Comrade Major General, you have offended me, but I am a petty person. Don't say that you can't take me back. Even if you take me back, when they want me to study the serum, my first condition is to let you be my test subject. Guess, will your commander agree? After saying this, Gu Changsheng turned around and took the initiative to put his hand on Tang Haoshan's shoulder. The two of them walked towards Hurricane like two street thugs. Seeing Gu Changsheng leave, Dai Guo sighed and shook his head. He knew that his mission this time was a complete failure, but he had no choice. If the other party didn't want to go, he couldn't force it, right? However, just because he didn't use force, it didn't mean that others wouldn't use it, such as Dai Jianfeng. Dai Jianfeng looked at Gu Changsheng's back as he left, and a ferocious look appeared on his face. Then, he flashed back and came to the place where the soldiers gathered, and said to the soldiers, "Raise your guns and aim. Get ready to shoot. If you don't move, the mission will not be completed. Do you want to be a failed soldier? This is an order." The soldiers hesitated for a moment, then actually raised their guns and pointed the muzzles at Wang Feng and the others. Wang Feng and the others were stunned at the same time, and then frowned. The matter in front of them is quite difficult to handle. Although they have several evolved people, if they really want to fight, it is estimated that even if they kill all these soldiers, there should be no problem. But they are soldiers and just follow orders. Regarding this point, in other words, they were not wrong. What was wrong was just Dai Jianfeng, who had lost his mind. Moreover, right behind them is the chemically protected vehicle. Once the shots are fired, I am afraid that not a single old man will be left in the chemically protected vehicle. This is unacceptable to them. For the Hope Base, these old people are not just some survivors. It is also a symbol of hope that there will be children, teenagers, young people, and middle-aged people in the base, who are full of energy and vigor. But they don't have the maturity and stability to see through the vicissitudes of life, and the maturity and stability to see everything in the world. Are you really going to humming rebel? Dai Guo was furious, stepped forward and stood in front of his soldiers, puffed out his chest, and pointed at himself. Come on. Shoot. Shoot here. The soldiers were stunned. They have never encountered such a situation. Their two military commanders had different opinions and issued two orders at the same time. Whose orders were they listening to? Seeing their commander standing in front of them, these soldiers couldn't help but slowly lowered the muzzles of their guns. Brothers. You are soldiers, soldiers of Group R. Before setting off, you must have listened clearly to the commander's order. Take Dr. Changsheng back to you, then go to the reserve base and bring back all the equipment and materials there. This is our mission. Now, Dai Guo has rebelled and refused to carry out the mission. Dai Jianfeng pointed at Dai Guo and said, "You have heard it yourself just now. He said that he wanted to go to his house to have a look. Humph. After watching it, will he come back?" And that guy clearly admitted that his hurricane it was found in that reserve base, but Dai Guo still let them leave, and then found Dr. Gu Changsheng, who was our mission target, and he didn't even say a word if he didn't follow us. Tell me. Will you still listen to the commander who refuses to execute the commander's order? Pick up the gun. You are soldiers and it is your bounden duty to obey orders. The commander's order. It is the highest order. As Dai Jianfeng shouted, the expressions on the faces of the soldiers looked very hesitant. Obviously they couldn't tell what to do now. It seemed that Dai Ji Unfeng was right, the commander's orders should be obeyed, but, the person standing in the center of the field now is, after all, their commander. A soldier suddenly strode out of the team and came to Dai Guo. Then he turned around, picked up the gun in his hand, pointed it at his comrades, and said, "I am a soldier led by the commander, so I will never let anyone hurt him, no matter whether his order is right or wrong. If you want to kill the commander, kill me first." As the soldier's words fell, groups of soldiers came to Dai Guo, and then made the same gesture as the soldier. Although these soldiers did not speak after that, they told everyone with their actions that they choose. After a while, 3/4 of the soldiers chose to stand in front of Dai Guo. There were more than 4,000 soldiers in total. On Dai Jianfeng's side, there were only about 1,000 left. Dai Jianfeng was stunned, and Dai Guo was also stunned. However, a bitter smile quickly appeared on Dai Guo's face, and he shook his head and cursed in a low voice, "These little bastards." Wang Feng and the others were also a little confused. They did not expect that things would turn out like this in the end. They were comrades who came together, but now they turned into enemies. This. Ha 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 ha. Unexpected. It turns out that our Fifth Army only has a few real soldiers. I wonder if the commander will be disappointed in us after we go back. Dai Ji Unfeng laughed crazily. But it doesn't matter. At least, our mission must be completed. Even if our entire army will be annihilated, we must complete the mission to the death, Dai Ji Unfeng shouted with a fierce voice and a ferocious look on his face. Swear to the death to complete the mission. After Dai Ji Unfeng finished speaking, the soldiers behind him who were still hesitating suddenly showed a determined expression and shouted together. Then, they picked up the guns in their hands and took aim. Opposite him, his former comrade in arms, his eyes were full of helpless pain. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 272. At this tense moment, Dai Guo suddenly shouted, "I wonder who the hell dares." After saying that, he jumped directly between the two clearly distinguished groups of soldiers, standing proudly, but, for some reason, Wang Feng and the others actually felt that Dai Guo's body seemed to be slightly stooped at this time. "You are willing to stand in front of me, which shows that you have not forgotten the old friendship and still regard yourself as my old soldier. This is very good. Dai, thank you, but soldiers like you who point your guns at your comrades. I don't want you to say that I am Dai Guo's soldier. I can't afford to put down my humming gun." Dai Guo pointed at the soldiers on his side and said, feeling a little excited and with tears in his eyes, "I, Dai Guo, always thought that I was a good person, and the soldiers I led were also good, but I didn't expect that I, Dai Guo, would be a good person. The soldiers who were brought out will one day be able to point their guns at their own people." What are soldiers? Soldiers are war machines, human weapons that are not afraid of death and hardship. They are the first and last line of defense for the motherland and the people. When the motherland and the people need us, we will be there at any time. When we resist external humiliation, we are a strong shield, and when we pursue the enemy, we are a sharp blade of revenge. When did I teach you how to kill your comrades? When did I teach you that the guns in your hands are used to deal with your own people? What you want to give to your comrades should be your own descendants. Back, not muzzle. Dai Guo's words made the soldiers on his side put down their guns silently. They all lowered their heads in shame, not daring to look into Dai Guo's eyes. "And you? You chose to continue the mission. I have nothing to say. This is your choice, but this is not the reason for you to massacre your comrades." Dai Guo turned to the soldiers on Dai Jianfeng's side and pointed at them. Said, "Dai Guo, stop being sensational here. I tell you, no matter what you say today, we must take Gu Changsheng back, and the hurricane. You must keep it with me, otherwise, none of you will be able to leave." What's wrong with the crowd of you guys? Listen up, brothers. When the war starts, all of you will fight against the chemical protected vehicles. I want to see who the important people are there. Dai Jianfeng felt something was not good and spoke quickly. He was worried that if Dai Guo said something to the soldiers left on his side again, he would be finished if the soldiers on his side put down their guns like the soldiers on the other side did. Sentimental? Do you think I'm acting in a TV series? What a humming sensationalist, Dai Guo said unceremoniously, fire a chemical protection vehicle. You can still give this order. I'm telling you, all of them are civilians. Soldiers' guns are used to protect them, not to kill them. You said civilians are just civilians. Were civilians so nervous just now? Oh. Who are you kidding? Dai Jianfeng said with disdain. You humming fart, Dai Guo was immediately furious. I always speak with spit and nail. When have you ever told lies? Come up with me and listen. If you can't find it, shut me up, mouth. Dai Jianfeng's expression suddenly froze. Dai Guo was really like what he said. He never told lies, and he kept his promises. Whatever he said or promised, he could never do anything he couldn't do. I don't care if they are civilians or anything else, as long as they prevent us from completing our mission, they are our enemies. We are soldiers, and completing our mission is our mission. Dai Jianfeng became a little angry. Everyone is ready. Crack, under Dai Jianfeng's order, the nearly 1,000 soldiers in front of him all pulled the bolts of their guns in one movement and were ready to shoot. Commander! Please get out of the way, a soldier shouted at Dai Guo with a gun in his hand. What? You want to shoot? Okay. Come on then. You bastard. If I were afraid, I wouldn't stand here. Dai Guo slapped his chest suddenly, and at the same time stopped the soldiers who were about to rush to block him. Don't move. Stand there, I will see if they dare to shoot me today. When you first joined the army, I remember that I gave you a lecture. This is the tradition of our 5th Army. When new recruits join the army, I always have to go up and nag you. Do you still remember those words now? I don't remember. Let me remind you. I will say something to every new recruit who enters the army. As long as you enter the army and put on this military uniform, then you will be my brother Dai Guo. On the battlefield, I, old Dai, will stand in front of anyone who wears the same military uniform as me, no matter whether I recognize this person or not, because I know this uniform. I, Dai Guo, went to the battlefield at the age of 17 and have gone through countless battles. I am able to survive to this day not because I am lucky or because I am skilled, but because I have a group of good brothers and comrades in arms. During my military career among them, at least 20 comrades fell in front of me because they were trying to protect me from a fatal bullet. Some of them have sacrificed, and some are still alive. Whether they are dead or alive, I will always remember the happy smile they showed me when I supported their fallen bodies. And what they said, rookie. Be careful, bullets, don't have eyes. These words have become the last words of some of them. Because of them, I am alive today, and because of them, I can say those words to you. No one is not afraid of death, including soldiers, but why do we dare to march forward bravely in the hail of bullets? It's because we have brothers we trust by our side. Do you know why everyone is unwilling to retire? What are the benefits of being a soldier? There are few vacations, hard training, low allowances, and great dangers. Why are so many people unwilling to leave? It is because they are unwilling to leave their brothers and comradeship. Our brothers who are closer than real brothers. Only the battlefield and the military camp can produce this kind of emotion. It is this emotion that attracts countless people to stay in the military camp. Now, it seems that I don't have to block the bullets for you, because the bullets are shot from your guns, ha 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 ha. Come on. Shoot. Let me see, the soldiers I brought out, How did you shoot me? Dai Guo's words caused the soldiers who stayed on Dai Jianfeng's side to still hold their guns in their hands, but it could be seen from their expressions that they were ready to give up, because there was no trace on their faces. His fighting spirit, and his eyes did not have that unique killing intent that soldiers have when they step onto the battlefield. Bang bang, after Dai Guo's words fell to the ground, two sudden gunshots rang out. At the moment when the gunshots rang out, Wang Feng's figure appeared in front of Dai Guo almost at the same time, and two blood arrows shot from his body. It was marked on his body, but his body did not move at all. Dai Jianfeng, Dai Guo roared angrily. The two gunshots just now came from the rifle in Dai Jianfeng's hand. He saw the reaction of the soldiers on his side and knew that if he didn't do something, maybe these soldiers would, it would no longer belong to him, so he secretly picked up the rifle in his hand and fired a double burst at Dai Guo. You want to kill me? Dai Guo rushed forward, looked at Wang Feng's body, and found that the shot was in the shoulder and shoulder socket. He breathed a sigh of relief. He knew that Wang Feng was an evolved person, although his body was not yet, it might be able to withstand bullets, but as long as it was not a fatal injury, with the evolver's strong physique, he would recover quickly, so he turned back and shouted angrily at Dai Jianfeng. Dai Jianfeng? You actually want to kill me? Dai Guo's eyes were full of disbelief. I have played with you since I was a child, grew up together, joined the army together, experienced this bastard's end of the world together, and have come to this point together. You actually want to kill me? Dai Guo. I did it to complete the mission. I am a soldier, Dai Jianfeng said with a guilty conscience. In fact, he was just out of his mind when he fired. Now that he saw that Dai Guo was not injured, he breathed a sigh of relief. He is also a passionate soldier, but as time goes by, his pursuits have changed, so his methods of doing things have also changed. Dai Guo looked at Dai Jianfeng, a look of disappointment flashed in his eyes, and then turned to look at Wang Feng. Little brother. It's not hurt, is it? You. No, Wang Feng shook his head gently. Then, looking at Dai Guo's questioning eyes, he smiled and said, as long as you wear this military uniform, I am willing to help you block bullets. I said this just now when I joined the army and joined the company. Our company commander also said, it's okay. I remember, Dai Guo repeated Wang Feng's words gently, and then laughed, ha 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 ha. I remember such a good one, little brother. You are good. In this life, in fact, as long as remember a few words and be able to follow them. No matter how he lives, at least he will have no regrets when he dies. Death without regrets. Li Tianxiang heard Dai Guo's words from behind and couldn't help but nodded and said softly. Well. Die without regrets, Gui Weivong on the side also said. My whole life. The one thing I remember is, don't starve yourself to death. As for whether you have any regrets after you die, I don't care, Lu Feng said from the side, so. I don't quite understand what he said. Because I don't have your experience, but I may gradually understand it in the future. Lao Lu. In fact, you already understand it. You even know it better than us. It's just that you don't want to accept it. After all, you have been used to that kind of lifestyle before, so subconsciously, you don't want to change yourself. So, it has changed now, it's just that your heart refuses to accept it. Meng Fei pointed out Lu Feng's true thoughts from the side. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 273. Dai Jianfeng saw that his sneak attack failed and that the soldiers on his side were already in a state of hesitation. A sense of frustration emerged from his heart. He actually wanted to complete the mission so much, not just for his own mission. and more importantly, to show off his abilities in front of Commander Wang Tao, because, with them, the more trust you gain, the more you can be trained with all your strength. In the past, because Dai Guo had been weighing on him, he had no chance to perform at all. Therefore, although he and Dai Guo were both major generals, they were worlds apart in terms of their status in their bases. Dai Guo could train them openly. His own power, but he could only secretly cultivate these warriors who are still by his side. If he can take another step forward and lead an army alone, then he will truly have the foundation to survive in this apocalyptic world. Although he is a deputy commander now, he would rather go down and be a regiment commander or even a regiment commander. He was the battalion commander, and he didn't want to be a deputy next to Dai Guo. Dai Jianfeng gritted his teeth, walked up to his soldiers, and shouted loudly, "Look at me." The nearly 1,000 soldiers who stayed beside him all raised their heads blankly and looked at Dai Jianfeng. "Listen. I'm grateful for your willingness to stay here with me. However, now I need you to express your stance once again. Are you fully supporting me? Or are you staying here because of face or favor? Are you fully supporting me? I welcome, for other reasons, please quit immediately, because what I need next is soldiers who can fully execute my orders. The military order is like a mountain. This is my request. So, think about it for yourselves. If you can't do it, you can go to Dai Guo's side, or we can't help each other. In short, please leave my team, only if you feel that you can do it unconditionally. Those who carry out my next orders, stay." "Dai Jianfeng, what do you want to do?" Dai Guo asked with a frown. Fruit, to Dai Guo's surprise, Dai Jianfeng turned around, looked at him calmly, and said softly, "We have been playing together since we were little, and I am better than you in almost everything. My grades in school were better than yours, I was more handsome than you, and I could talk better than you. When I was little, the adults liked me more, saying that I would definitely be more promising than you when I grew up. But all this changed after we joined the army. When we got to the army, you were better than me in everything and were always ahead of me. Even I, a major general, was under your command and relied on your help. I have never been willing to be fooled, so why are you better than me? I should be the one to help you. It wasn't until I listened to your words just now that I realized that there is indeed a gap between you and me. Only one of the two young men who joined the military camp with enthusiasm back then is left. Because I have always wanted to surpass you, so my state of mind has changed. Compared with you, I may not be worthy of being a soldier, but now I understand that it may be too late, and I can only continue on my own path. Even though I know that my path may be wrong, I can't look back now. Some things are lost when they are lost and can never be found again. To be honest, before today, I never thought about myself. I wanted to shoot you. I wanted to overwhelm you, climb on top of you, and prove that I was stronger than you, but I never wanted to kill you. The moment I pulled the trigger, the Dai Jianfeng of that year was already dead. The Dai Jianfeng who was Dai Guo's friend had disappeared. Or, the Dai Jianfeng had died a long time ago. After he gave birth to you, that time of jealousy. Fruit. I know you have been tolerating me and helping me in the past, but you don't know that the more you help me, the more unwilling I am. The more I owe you, the deeper my hatred for you. Maybe this is the bad nature of people? If we are not friends, but strangers, I will be grateful for you to help me like this, and I will try my best to help you and be willing to be your deputy, but we are too familiar. Kyuakyo. I call you Kyuakyo for the last time. Next, we will break up all ties. I owe you what I can't afford to pay back, so I won't pay it back. Next, you don't have to think about our friendship, just treat it as I'm a stranger now. After hearing Dai Jianfeng's words, Dai Guo couldn't help but be stunned. He opened his mouth but no words came out. Have you made your choice, Dai Jianfeng turned around and looked at the soldiers. The soldiers still maintained their original formation. No one left. They did not answer, but the resolute expressions on their faces confirmed their choice. Okay. Thank you, Dai Jianfeng saluted these soldiers, then turned around again. Who is your leader? Stand up. Wang Feng slowly walked up to him and smiled softly. You should know it's me, right? I want Gu Changsheng and the hurricane, leave them to me. We will leave immediately. If you don't hand over, we will have a battle. I think you all know who Gu Changsheng is. Only with us can his professional skills be, only when he is fully utilized can he benefit mankind. Now that you are taking him back, do you have the resources he needs for research? Dai Jianfeng looked at Wang Feng and said, you'd better not push humanity to the brink of extinction because of your own selfish desires. You can't afford this consequence. We are so powerful that you can't match it. Only then can we meet his research needs. Everything you are doing now is just threatening the survival of mankind. As for the reserve base, I don't care how to deal with it. I will go back and ask my superiors. So, you just need to hand over the hurricane to me. I think you should be able to accept this result, right? There are more than one hurricane in that reserve base. Wang Feng looked at Dai Jianfeng and suddenly smiled. How do you judge that our strength is not as good as yours? How do you determine that we are unable to provide Dr. Gu with what he needs for his research? Because we are regular troops, our number is not what you can imagine. I admit that you are stronger than me now. 8 or 9 evolvers are indeed a lot, but evolvers there are at least more than 100 in our base. Don't think that you are very powerful now. I guess you can have 20 evolvers, right? Dai Jianfeng curled his lips and said disdainfully, if you insist, even if we let you go now, when our large army comes, can you resist? Can you deal with hundreds of evolvers? I advise you not to cause trouble for yourself. Although there is no country now, the army is also not something you can afford to provoke. Are you sure you must take what you want back? No room for negotiation. Wang Feng looked at Dai Jianfeng and asked with a smile. Of course I am sure. I have already explained the interests involved. You can make your own choice. Don't create a powerful enemy for yourself because of greed, and put your hard-earned base in danger. Dai Jianfeng sneered. You can build a camp in this doomsday, at least you are not a fool. Do you want to offend us completely? I think you have the answer, right? Of course. I have the answer, Wang Feng chuckled, then raised his right hand and made 2 movements in the air. At the moment Wang Feng made the movement, a large number of figures suddenly rushed out of the building near the intersection where they were, and rushed directly into the soldiers behind Dai Jianfeng. At this time, those soldiers showed that they were the elite of the warriors who had fought hundreds of battles. They did not fall into chaos when they encountered a sudden attack. Although the enemy had rushed into them and could not use firearms, they all reacted quickly and pulled out the daggers on their bodies to fight with the enemy. However, despite the quick reaction, the huge gap in strength made these soldiers basically powerless to resist. In less than 2 minutes, nearly 1,000 soldiers were all stripped of their equipment and became prisoners. Even Dai Jianfeng was easily knocked to the ground by a man in his 40s. This man was Lu Qiang. Because the Hope Base was transforming the Black Dragon Bridge, the guards guarding the bridgehead had placed their sentries all the way to the Haki City side. When they saw Dai Guo and his convoy from a distance, they had already passed the information to Lu Wanting at the Black Dragon Bridge through the intercom, and Lu Wanting passed the news back to the Hope Base. At this time, more than 1,200 guards at the Hope Base had awakened from their slumber and completed their evolution process. Lu Qiang got the news and hurriedly took these soldiers to the Black Dragon Bridge, because they didn't know whether the target of this convoy was the Black Dragon Bridge. After arriving at the Black Dragon Bridge, Lu Qiang got the news that the team had entered Haki City. Although he felt a little sorry for the supplies in Haki City that had not been moved back by them, Lu Qiang did not make a decision immediately after he found out that the team was an army. Instead, he contacted Duan Lei. Duan Lei's answer was to contact them, but not to conflict with them. If necessary, these troops can be pulled into the Hope Base. Duan Lei's idea is the same as Wang Feng's. If these soldiers are still genuine soldiers, then instructor Lin Liangning can completely deal with them. If they are not, it will be easier to deal with them directly by force. In short, it is not wrong to let Lu Qiang contact them first. Lu Qiang brought the more than 1,200 evolutionary guardian warriors and walked directly to Haki City, but found that they actually met Wang Feng and others, and seemed to have a conflict. Lu Qiang made a prompt decision and immediately asked the guardian warriors to quietly approach those soldiers and be ready to support Wang Feng at any time. As the guardian warriors of the evolvers, they were originally elites who had passed the training of the instructors. Now after becoming enhancers, their combat power increased dramatically. More than 1,000 people approached those soldiers without being discovered by anyone. However, this did not include Wang Feng, who had the third eye. Besides, Lu Qiang had no intention of hiding it from Wang Feng. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 274. Wang Feng did not start the battle immediately after the Guardian Corps was in place, but waited until now, because he did not want to fight with these soldiers. Although Dai Jianfeng did not perform well, they were still a force among humans. Wang Feng did not want to have a conflict with them rashly, but Dai Jianfeng was aggressive, so he had to let him see the power of the Hope Base. It can be said that the Guardian Warriors came at the right time. If they did not come, Wang Feng and his team would be able to deal with these soldiers, but there might be casualties. Whether it was his side or the other side, Wang Feng did not want any losses. After all, the soldiers on the opposite side were just following orders. For the soldiers, they did nothing wrong. The most important thing was that if there were only these people, even if they won, they would not deter Dai Jianfeng and his team. Then, sooner or later, their base would come to the Hope Base to cause trouble. Even if Dai Jianfeng and his team were killed, it would be useless unless Dai Guo was willing to go back to help them lie, such as encountering a zombie attack and Dai Jianfeng and his team died in battle. But don't even think about this idea. It's probably more difficult to ask the old General Dai Guo to lie for them than to ask Dai Jianfeng to lie back. Now that the Guardian Corps has appeared, more than 1,000 evolved warriors should be enough to make Dai Jianfeng and his commander worry. At least there won't be any problems in the short term. Now Wang Feng's main task is to survive the disaster 2 months later, and then see how the world develops to decide the direction of the Hope Base in the later period. After Lu Qiang subdued Dai Jianfeng, he threw him to the 2 guardian warriors behind him, and then strode towards Wang Feng. After he came in front of him, he stood at attention, followed by a military salute, and said loudly, "Lu Qiang, the captain of the 5th Squadron of the Guardian Corps, led all the members of the 5th Squadron to come to reinforce, please give instructions." When Lu Qiang was hiding on the side just now, he also made a rough judgment of what happened in the field, especially what Dai Jianfeng said in the later period, all of which were heard by him. Therefore, Lu Qiang said this now. He fabricated an identity of the captain of the 5th Squadron for himself. Then, in Dai Jianfeng's ears, this meaning is different. The captain of the 5th Squadron came to reinforce with his squadron members. It sounds normal, but the hidden meaning behind it is different. The 5th Squadron means that there are at least 4 squadrons ahead, and the 5th Squadron now shows the power of more than 1,000 evolvers, which means that Wang Feng's forces have at least 6,000 evolvers. Dai Jianfeng could certainly think of this, so his face changed instantly. He was easily knocked to the ground by Lu Qiang, because Lu Qiang himself is a second-level evolver, and his combat experience is far beyond that of Su Mo, a newly promoted second-level evolver, so it is not difficult to defeat him. What's more, Lu Qiang intends to fight quickly and decisively in order to leave a shadow in the hearts of the enemy, so that they dare not easily provoke the hope base. Wang Feng naturally understood Lu Qiang's meaning, so he just nodded and said, "Thank you, Captain Lu, for your hard work. Let the brothers come back. Don't hurt those people, we are all soldiers." "Yes," Lu Qiang saluted again, then turned around and shouted, "Fifth Squadron assemble." Following Lu Qiang's command, more than 1,200 guard soldiers quickly gave up the captives in their hands and came to Lu Qiang. In a very short time, they were arranged into a neat square formation. Dai Guo and Dai Jianfeng, who had been released, took a breath of cold air at the same time. From the speed of assembly and the shape of the formation of these soldiers are 100% professional soldiers. Both of them are veterans who have been in the army for decades. Of course, they have this vision, and their guess is not wrong. When the instructor Li Yingning was training the Guard Corps, he followed the standard Special Forces training outline. Of course, this standard refers to Li Yingning's standard. Therefore, these Guard soldiers can now be said to be the world's first regular army composed entirely of evolvers. Others are definitely not so extravagant and use evolution. Because there are few evolvers in other places, even those who have been cultivated will have some arrogance of strong people, but the Guardian Corps is different. A few months ago, they were all ordinary people, and there were not even a few enhancers, let alone evolvers. They were able to become evolvers because of Wang Feng's potions. Of course, they dare not be arrogant, and they don't have the capital to be arrogant. Evolvers are rare in other places. More than 100 people make Dai Jianfeng feel invincible. Hope Base has directly evolved 2,000 people collectively, and these soldiers have become accustomed to their identities. They don't feel that there is anything wrong with being an evolver and a soldier. Wang Feng walked in front of Dai Jianfeng, then looked at him and said, "Do you still think that we can't afford to offend you? It seems that I think that with the strength you have seen now, it is enough to resist your more than 100 evolvers, right?" How many people are there in your camp?" Dai Jianfeng asked with a look of horror. "Ours is called Hope Base, with a population of nearly 1 million. Is there a problem? From Heilong Bridge to Jianguan Town, the entire Heilong city is our territory. There is not a single zombie there. In addition, by the way, the more than 20 million zombies in Haki City were also cleared out by us. Otherwise, your team would not even be qualified to pass through Haki City." Wang Feng looked at Dai Jianfeng calmly and said, "It's not difficult for me to let you go back. I just don't want to lose a force among humans, so go back and tell your commander that if you want to join us, we welcome you. However, if you want to cause trouble, it's best to think about it and borrow a word from you. Don't create a powerful enemy for yourself and put your hard-working base into danger because of greed." Dai Jianfeng's face was ugly. He didn't expect that what he just said would be sent back intact by the other party. However, he still had no way to refute. Not to mention the power of the entire base, the power he showed now was enough. Their base cannot resist more than 1,000 evolvers. This is not an enhancer, but an evolver? How did they do it? Wang Feng ignored Dai Jianfeng, turned around and came to Dai Guo, looked at Dai Guo and said, "Chief, don't you want to come with us to see our base? Now it seems that the mission you want to perform has been ruined. Why don't we go together now?" Dai Guo had not yet woken up from the shock that the multiple evolvers had brought to him. He was stunned when he heard this, and then he realized and laughed quickly, "Ha ha ha ha. Of course I have to see it. I didn't expect it. How can your little brother have so much energy? My dear, the evolver who came forward actually has a population of millions. I really want to see what kind of person your leader is." After finishing speaking, Dai Guo strode up to Dai Jianfeng. "Jianfeng. Since you called me Kuazi, I will call you Jianfeng again. What you say when you go back is your business, but I, Daiguo, will go there, just to see who the leader is. I am from Army Group R, and I will still go back. As for the brothers behind me, I can't make the decision. When the time comes, let them make their own choices. That's all I have to say. You can take care of yourself. I advise you to take your brothers back directly and stop having any other evil thoughts. Otherwise, I can't control what happens to you, but don't cause trouble for our group army. Afterwards, Daiguo nodded to Daiji Unfeng, turned around and walked towards Wang Feng, then smiled and said, "Little brother. Let's go." Wang Feng smiled faintly. "Let's go, then," he said to Lu Qiang, "Captain Lu. Let's go back first. Since you are here, don't come in vain. Search here and bring something back. Don't the thieves escape." After that, he said to Daiguo, "Chief, let's go to the front." Daiguo nodded, and then said to his soldiers, "What the hell are you doing standing still? Go and scratch, see if there's anything useful, and then follow Captain Lu to their base to find me." Wang Feng smiled slightly and walked straight towards the hurricane. After Daiguo dismissed his army, he quickly followed Wang Feng. Daiji Unfeng stood there for a while and sighed. Then he looked at the soldiers behind him and waved his hand, "Withdraw. Go back to the base." Daiji Unfeng also knew Daiguo's plan. Although the two almost turned against each other before, they had still worked together for many years. He knew that Daiguo had not betrayed Group R. He only saw that when Daiguo left, he did not let the soldiers drive them away. Those military vehicles knew that Daiguo deliberately kept all these for himself, because Daiguo knew in his heart that after these vehicles drove to the opponent's camp, they would probably not be able to drive back. Moreover, when Daiguo gave the order to the soldiers just now, he did not ask those soldiers to help Lu Qiang and the others collect supplies. Instead, he told them to also pull, and then follow Lu Qiang to the base to find him. In other words, these soldiers collected the supplies he received still belonged to Daiguo, not the Hope Base. As for Daiguo going to Hope Base, he obviously wanted to see the situation there, and he also made it clear in his words that he wanted to see the opponent's mysterious leader first. If he could command such a powerful army, the opponent would definitely. They are the military bosses before the end of the world, and these bosses must all know each other. Go and see who they are first, and then report back. You can also know what kind of attitude you should adopt to deal with them. This mysterious and powerful base of hope. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 275. Watching Wang Feng and his team's convoy gradually leave, as well as the guards and soldiers who had already rushed into the surrounding streets and began to search for supplies, Daiji Unfeng finally ordered all vehicles to leave. He did not stay to order the soldiers to collect some supplies before leaving, because Daiguo's words before leaving were obviously to wake him up and let him not make trouble and go back to report the situation, so Daiji Unfeng chose to leave directly. At this time, Daiguo was standing on the roof of the hurricane, chatting with Lu Feng and others, but he only asked that Lu Feng and others were all second-level enhancers. Lu Feng and others didn't know anything about other things. Everyone knew that this old guy was trying to trick him, so everyone followed him and laughed, and changed the subject when asked the key points. Wang Feng found it interesting. In fact, he also knew that Daiguo said he admired him very much, but after all, Daiguo was from another unit. It was impossible to win over such a pure soldier alone. It was just that Wang Feng wanted to see if instructor Li Yingning would work in front of this major general. Daiguo and Meng Fei were scheming and chatting with each other all the way, because after Lu Feng and others chatted with this old guy for a while, they found that they were always inadvertently tricked by this null, which was simply impossible to guard against. Unexpectedly, Daiguo looked hot-tempered, like a rough man, and he kept saying him, but he was quite thoughtful and not as careless as he appeared. Wang Feng actually knew it a long time ago, so he didn't chat with the old general much after getting on the car, because he could see from the order of the old general before leaving that this was a person who did things without leaking a drop of water, and he was definitely a master who would not suffer losses. Not long after, the Black Dragon Bridge appeared in sight. Because it was under construction, there seemed to be a lot of people over there, and it seemed very lively. Hey? What are they doing over there? Dai Guo asked curiously when he saw the dark group of people over there at the Black Dragon Bridge. Old Dai. We are renovating the Black Dragon Bridge, don't you know? The Black Dragon Bridge is the only passage to enter the Black Dragon City. As long as we can control the Black Dragon Bridge, we are not afraid of any zombies, because they can't get through, unless the zombies can fly. Lu Feng patted Dai Guo on the shoulder and said. Lu Feng was not a soldier, and he had no fear of soldiers. For him, Dai Guo, the major general, was just older than other soldiers, and there was no other difference, so he had long called Dai Guo Old Dai, Old Dai. Dai Guo didn't care at all. Instead, he put his arm around Lu Feng's shoulder, like an old friend, and asked with a smile, ha ha ha. Great. Old Lu. Tell me. How did you transform this bridge? I don't know. I'm from the combat department. Transforming this bridge is the business of the life department. I just heard that the bridge will be transformed into a telescopic type, which can be disconnected when the zombie tide attacks and closed when you need to go. In addition, a defensive fortress will be built at the end of the bridge on our side. This is the responsibility of special bridge experts and designers. Lu Feng shook his head and said to Dai Guo, Old Dai, if you want to know, go ask them when the time comes. I don't like this kind of work that is drawing all day long. I'd rather kill zombies and rob things outside. What Lu Feng said was all that Dai Guo would see in a while, so it didn't matter even if he said it. On the contrary, it could show the strength of the Hope Base. Now Lu Feng also knew that Dai Guo would not stay in the Hope Base, so in order to prevent them from coming to cause trouble, it would be better to expose some strength so that they dare not come to cause trouble. As they were talking, the convoy arrived at the Black Dragon Bridge. The guards quickly moved the roadblocks to make way for the convoy. Of course, they knew Wang Feng standing on the roof. Moreover, when Wang Feng and his convoy just left Haki City, the secret sentry there had already sent back the news that although the bridge of the Black Dragon Bridge has been completed, the defense fortress at the bridgehead has not been completed, so the 1,000 guards are still here to undertake the defense mission. Seeing these guards, Dai Guo was not too surprised. 1,000 enhancers were nothing to them. However, the quality shown by these guards made Dai Guo believe that they were all professional soldiers. Now, Dai Guo was more convinced that the highest leader of this base was a military boss. Because of preconceived notions, Dai Guo directly judged the 1,200 Guardian warriors as the second-line troops of the Hope Base. He saw the 1,200 Guardian warriors at the level of evolvers with his own eyes, and after hearing what Lu Qiang said, he directly determined that there should be thousands of evolvers in the Hope Base. Then these enhancers were naturally unwelcome second-line troops. Seeing that even the second-line troops had this level, Dai Guo was naturally quite surprised. He didn't know that these 1,000 Guardian warriors were the most elite troops of the Hope Base. It was just because they undertook the defense mission of the Black Dragon Bridge that they were still enhancers, not evolvers. However, when the remaining 1,000 Guardian warriors woke up, or when the defense system of the Black Dragon Bridge was completed, that was when they began the evolution process. Seeing the convoy coming back, Lu Wanting was the first to come forward and flew to Wang Feng. She and Wang Feng separated. It has been nearly a week now. Although she has been busy, Lu Wanting's thoughts about Wang Feng are getting deeper and deeper. She wishes she could be entangled with him every day in the future. Seeing the speed with which Lu Wanting pounced on Wang Feng, Dai Guo was shocked again. This was obviously an evolver, and it should be what they called a second-order evolver. The second order evolver was in Daiguo's base. None of them have appeared, because they don't know how to become second-level evolutionaries. They have also given evolutionaries the evolutionary fluid in the brains of mutated beasts, but it didn't work, so they didn't waste it anymore. In fact, their method is right. To become a second-order evolver, the first-order evolver needs to take strengthening liquid and other life energy substances again. However, in addition to a certain amount of luck is also required, just like becoming an enhancer. The energy accumulated in the body has arrived, but it still requires a certain amount of luck. If it breaks through, it will be the second level. If it cannot break through, it will still be the first level. When they did the experiment, they gave the first order evolver, their commander Wang Tao, 5 servings, but there was no reaction at all, so they gave up, thinking that the evolver was the pinnacle of mankind. In fact, 5 servings, 1 serving of evolutionary fluid is not enough to allow the life energy in Wang Tao's body to reach an advanced stage, so let alone a breakthrough, adding 5 more servings is useless. This shows the abnormality of apocalypse. For apocalypse, as long as the life energy is enough, there is no need for luck at all, and a 100% breakthrough can be achieved directly. This is the benefit of apocalypse, and it is also the source of the almost abnormal power of the Hope Base. Wang Feng and Lu Wanting kissed for a while before they parted ways. Wang Feng was going to take Daiguo to see the instructor, while Lu Wanting was going to stay here as a supervisor. Now that the main body of the Black Dragon Bridge has been completed, the only thing left is Lu Wanting. The defensive fortress was designed, so now Lu Wanting has no way to leave and must stay here. Something goes wrong. After crossing Heilong Bridge, the scene he saw surprised Daiguo even more. Because Heilong Bridge is now considered safe, the area near Heilong Bridge has also been developed into farmland by Doomsday, so along the way, you can seeing that the green crops had grown lushly. Daiguo couldn't help pointing to the farmland and asked. Lao Lu. That's. Haha. Old Dai. You really forgot your roots when you became a general. Didn't you say you were born a farmer? Why don't you even know crops? Lu Feng laughed. Ha 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 ha. How dare I, Lao Dai, forget my origin. But, this is the crop you planted? Let's go over and have a look, okay? I'll tell you the truth. When you talk about crops, I really feel familiar. Well, I haven't seen it since the end of the world. Let's open our eyes, right? Daiguo said with a smile. Lu Feng looked at Wang Feng. Wang Feng hesitated for a moment and nodded, since the chief wants to see it, then go and have a look. It's still early anyway, so it won't take long. Then, Wang Feng looked at Meng Fei and others behind him. Lao Meng. You go back with everyone first, make arrangements with Lazy Eye and the others, and let's take the leader around first. Meng Fei nodded, then jumped out of the hurricane with Gui Wuivang, Tang Haoshan, and others, and walked towards the car behind. Lu Wu followed Wang Feng's order, drove the car off the road, and drove towards the residence of this farm. After Meng Fei, Tang Haoshan, and others got on the next car, they headed directly towards Ganlin County. Meng Fei knew what Wang Feng meant and thought that his status in the base was not as high as that of Tang Haoshan. Wang Feng should actually have told Tang Haoshan just now. Telling him directly means asking him to go back and tell Doomsday about the situation here. When making arrangements, it is not only necessary to arrange the old people and people in the peaceful town, but also to arrange the lineup to welcome Daiguo. If he does not need to be seen, he will not be allowed to see it. Only let him see it. See, it sounds like a tongue twister, but it's true. Wang Feng and the others got off the main road and soon arrived at the center of the farm, which is the living area of everyone working on the farm. A young man ran out and shouted from a distance, Brother Feng. Why are you here? You miss me so much. And during this time, the research institute at the Hope Base has made some achievements, cultivating a mutant beast that can be raised as livestock. This mutated beast, Doomsday named it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 276. Looking at the young man running towards the side, Dai Guo's cheeks twitched. Damn, this is another evolver. How can you hope that the evolvers in the base are not valuable? This is obviously just a farm in the safe zone. Why is there an evolver guarding it? The young man who ran all the way here was naturally Taizu. He felt that he was stupid and lacked experience in fighting, and it was easy to drag others down, so he simply chose the life department. However, with his brain, he couldn't do much in the life department. Fortunately, he was born in the countryside and had a lot of experience in farming. So Doomsday simply handed over a newly opened farm to Taizu to manage, let him slowly learn some management experience, and then see how to arrange it later. Taizu didn't feel wronged, but accepted the task happily, and seemed to be very happy here, because he was originally a farmer, and he farmed at home. Moreover, he didn't have to farm now, just command, especially those people who didn't know how to farm at all. Taizu guided them on the side, and these people gradually became familiar with it. This made Taizu very excited. He was finally able to help Wang Feng and Doomsday. Moreover, it was the first time that he could instruct others from the perspective of a master. In particular, the attitude of those people towards him was respectful from the bottom of their hearts. Whether before or after the apocalypse, Taizu had never encountered such treatment. Of course, he was very excited. Because these survivors were relatively easy to be content. When they were at the Tianhuo base, it was good to have a bowl of porridge every day. Moreover, they were surrounded by the sea of zombies. They might be broken into by zombies at any time and then dragged out to eat. Therefore, these people could not even sleep well when they were at the Tianhuo base. Now, not only can they sleep peacefully every day, but they can also eat a full meal every day without the threat of zombies. Of course, they are quite satisfied. In addition, seeing that there are evolvers like Taizu here to protect them, they work very hard every day. After all, not everyone thinks that it is an excessive requirement to work if they want to eat. Moreover, these people also respect Taizu very much and like to get along with him, because Taizu is not a master at all. He can usually get along with them, and it is easy for people to forget that he is an evolver. Although Taizu is an evolver, he has no awareness of this. I am afraid that if an ordinary person stands in front of him and accuses him, he will have no way to deal with it. If those people who were killed by Lu Feng at the beginning met Taizu, I am afraid that Taizu would really be succeeded by them, because Taizu certainly does not know why to work for food. Seeing Taizu, Wang Feng couldn't help laughing. He jumped out of the car directly, came to Taizu, and patted his shoulder. Taizu, how are you here? Are you used to it? He. Brother Feng. I am used to it here. Let me tell you, I also teach those people to farm, they don't know how to do it. If I don't teach them, they don't know how to do it. Taizu touched his head with his signature silly smile on his face. Ha ha ha, Wang Feng laughed. After seeing Taizu, he felt much better. Maybe he felt relaxed in front of this heartless guy. At this time, several survivors also ran over. After seeing Wang Feng, they were a little nervous. To be precise, the source of their nervousness was Lu Feng. Lu Feng did not follow Gui Wuivong and the others back, but followed Dai Guo. The two guys were arm in arm like old friends. Although Lu Feng was smiling from time to time, his name as the Bloody Hand Butcher had long been spread in the base. Lu Feng did not prohibit everyone from watching that video, so most of the survivors had basically seen that video. Because there is no shortage of resources in the base for the time being, Doomsday has equipped each farm with a generator so that everyone can have lighting at night and even TV to watch, but the TV can only show old programs. For the time being, the only new program is the Bloody Hand Butcher solving cases film. So, in a sense, Lu Feng is the first guy to appear on the screen after the end of the world. Taizu looked back at the survivors and was overjoyed. He shouted, "Lao Li, Lao Wang, Uncle Huang, Xiao Si, come here quickly. This is my brother Feng, the head of our base. Let me introduce him to you." The survivors who were originally running towards the side stopped at the same time after seeing Lu Feng. They stood there and dared not move, and their faces turned pale. Taizu was stunned, then followed their gaze and suddenly realized, "Oh, you don't have to be afraid of him. Brother Lu is a good man. Don't pay attention to his unlucky nickname. It's all given by others. He usually doesn't kill people. You haven't done anything wrong. I guess he won't kill you. Come here. I promise that you can all go back alive." Hearing Taizu's words, the faces of those people turned even paler. Wang Feng was also amused. How could this silly boy talk like that? He usually doesn't kill people. He probably won't kill you. And he guarantees that people will go back alive? This is obviously a bluff, right? Taizu, you are already a second-level evolver, but you don't have any brains, right? Lu Feng was also shocked by Taizu's words. How can you talk like that? He. Brother Lu. Long time no see, do you miss me? Taizu was not angry, and said with a smile. Miss you? Are you a beauty? Lu Feng said unhappily. He and Taizu were also very familiar with each other. They had been together since they were in Wu village, so he was not polite to Taizu. Their conversation surprised Dai Guo on the side again. He didn't expect that this silly boy was also a second-level evolver. When did the second-level evolvers become cabbages? But now was not the time to be surprised. Dai Guo ran directly to the farmland and looked at the crops that grew. He found that they were all corn and sweet potatoes. This was right. After all, it was the end of the world. Planting such high-yield crops was the most suitable. Moreover, since Dai Guo left the countryside very early and joined the army, he was not very familiar with crops. Because of this, Dai Guo did not find that the size of these crops was much thicker than that of ordinary corn and sweet potatoes. Normal corn should have tassels at this height, but these corns still looked like seedlings when they grew to almost a person's height. This is because the corns were planted only a few days ago, because this farm was developed after Wang Feng and his team left, so these crops have only been planted for a few days. However, since Taizu is in charge of the farm, there are naturally as many zombie corpses as needed. After taking a closer look at the crops here, Dai Guo had some ideas in his mind, but he didn't show them. He turned around and said with a smile, "Ha ha ha ha. Lao Lu. Little brother. You guys are really good. When did you start planting crops?" "A few months. I can't remember the details. This is under the management of the life department, not ours," Wang Feng said lightly. "Oh," Dai Guo was stunned. "How is the harvest now?" "Self-sufficiency should be no problem," Wang Feng answered. He was not exaggerating. The harvest of Hope Base can indeed be self-sufficient, but that refers to sweet potato corn porridge, which can be eaten every day. In fact, in this Doomsday, being able to eat is quite good. It is estimated that a base that can be self-sufficient like Hope Base, which does not rely on the remains before the Doomsday, is definitely a rare existence. Dai Guo really showed envy when he heard Wang Feng's words, because although their base has also started planting, it is still far from being self-sufficient. Although they have also discovered that the corpses of zombies can accelerate the growth of plants, they do not have so many zombie corpses. Because the small groups of zombies around their military camp have basically been cleared, and they dare not easily provoke the zombie tide in the city. It is not that they cannot be eliminated, but that the ammunition is limited. They dare not waste all the ammunition on cleaning up the zombies, otherwise when their military camp is attacked in the future, it will be a big trouble without ammunition. So they usually send people to act as bait to lure out the zombies entrenched in the city and eat them up bit by bit. This method was quite effective in the early stage, and most of their enhancers were also produced at this time. However, with the evolution of zombies, when mutant zombies, mutant zombie kings and even mutant zombies appeared, this method gradually lost its effect. When they encountered mutant zombies, they could barely kill a zombie tide led by mutant zombies, but at this time they began to waste ammunition. However, when they knew that mutant zombies could produce evolvers among them, they chose to continue, using the consumption of ammunition to exchange for the production of their own evolvers. Moreover, using this method, they also successfully cleared the zombies in 2 second-tier cities and obtained a large amount of leftover materials before the end of the world, but when the mutant zombie king appeared, they felt the effort, and because of the excessive consumption of ammunition, they decided not to slaughter zombies anymore. At this time, due to the shortage of arms and ammunition, their commander Wang Tao remembered that there seemed to be a reserve warehouse in Helongshan, which contained a lot of supplies and ammunition, as well as hurricanes and tank artillery, so he sent Dai Guo and his men to search. And they also learned about Gu Changshen's existence from a survivor they rescued, so finding Gu Changshen became one of their tasks, which led to Dai Guo meeting Wang Feng. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 277. Now Dai Guo saw that the Hope Base was developing so well, and he couldn't help but be moved. He was a pure soldier who only knew to protect the people, because the country no longer existed. Therefore, the oath he made when he joined the army, to defend the motherland and the people, only the latter sentence remained, just like what Wang Feng said to instructor Li Yingning, the country is gone, but the people are still there. There were also a large number of survivors living in the military camps over there, but because of geographical reasons, they did not have many places for planting, because they did not have the conditions of Helong City. In the plains surrounded by enemies, they had no ability to expand their living area, and they only opened up some places for planting in the existing military camps. Although some farmland was opened up outside, irrigation and the like required a lot of manpower, and they also needed military protection. Although the zombies around the military camps had been cleared, zombies were not fixed monsters, and a group of them might wander over at any time, so they could not directly mark out a piece of land as a farm like Helong City. From this point of view, before the end of the world, Helong City was just a remote small city, but after the end of the world, it became a rare treasure land. On the contrary, the more prosperous and wealthy the city was, the more dangerous it was, because most of those cities had convenient transportation, and zombies could naturally gather from all directions, making it difficult to defend. And the most important thing is that the population of Helong City is not large, which is conducive to development in the early stage. In addition, with the existence of Wang Feng, it is naturally easy to gain a foothold in this end of the world. Therefore, all this in front of Dai Guo made him envious, and he secretly started thinking. He was thinking, if the leader of this base is not as high-ranking as their commander, can he persuade him to hand over this base to his commander Wang Tao? Wang Tao is still a very qualified soldier in Dai Guo's mind. Dai Guo also knew the terrain of Helong City a long time ago. After all, their mission location was in Helong Mountain. It was impossible not to study the terrain here in advance. Surrounded by mountains on 2 sides and facing the sea on one side, there was indeed only one road leading to the outside world, the Helong Bridge. When crossing the bridge just now, although the entire defense system had not been fully completed, Dai Guo still saw that the retractable bridge deck mentioned by Lu Feng had been completed. This technology was not a rare technology before the end of the world. Many cross-river bridges used this kind of bridge deck. Because it was convenient for ships to sail, the Hope Base could find 3 experts in this area at once, and also find related materials and equipment. In this way, this Heilong city is really an extremely safe base. As long as the Heilong bridge is disconnected, unless the zombies can fly, otherwise, no matter how huge the zombie tide is, it is probably impossible to capture this Hope Base. It is for this reason that they dare to expand the farm outside. Little brother, I've seen enough. Thank you. How about we go to your base to meet your leader? Dai Guo came back with a smile and said to Wang Feng, who was chatting with Taizu. Okay. Now that the chief has finished reading, let's go. Wang Feng naturally had no objection and nodded in agreement. The group said goodbye to the reluctant Taizu, got back on the Hurricane, and drove towards Ganlin County. Along the way, the farmland on both sides made Dai Guo admire it. When he saw the wall surrounding the entire Ganlin County, Dai Guo was shocked again. He looked at the seemingly endless walls on both sides and turned around and asked, "Little brother, this wall? Oh. This wall was built by us around Ganlin County. In fact, it has no use. It was just that the end of the world had just begun not long ago. Building such a wall can make the survivors living here feel at ease," Wang Feng explained casually. Dai Guo nodded, expressing his understanding. At the beginning of the end of the world, even veterans like them had been confused for a while, not to mention the ordinary people. From this point of view, Dai Guo still admired the leader of the Hope Base, because he was willing to spend resources to build a wall that was actually not very useful, just to stabilize the people's hearts, which showed that the leader was still very concerned about the ordinary people. Hurricane passed through the gate of the city wall and soon came to the Green Water Garden. When he saw the defense wall of the Green Water Garden, Dai Guo had lost interest in asking questions. He felt that he seemed to come here for excitement. Every time he arrived at a new place, he would always have a surprise discovery. What Dai Guo didn't know was that his biggest surprise had not come yet. The soldiers guarding the gate of the Green Water Garden were no longer soldiers of the Hope Legion, but soldiers of the Guardian Legion. They were the Guardian warriors who had completed the evolution process again and woke up after the previous batch left. Of course, they were specially replaced by Duan Lei after he learned the news. When the guards jumped down from the defensive wall and saluted Wang Feng and the others, their agility proved to Dai Guo that he was an evolver. However, after the lesson of Taizu, Dai Guo did not seem to think it was too much for an evolver to serve as a guard. A second-level evolver had been arranged by them to be the village chief, so it did not seem a big deal for a first-level evolver to serve as a guard. After entering the community, he drove directly to the clubhouse. The expressions on the faces of the pedestrians he saw along the way made Dai Guo sigh secretly. The survivors in their base did not have such a comfortable expression on their faces. It seemed that the people here were really living well. Now Dai Guo was more and more eager to meet the mysterious leader. After entering the clubhouse, Duan Lei came up and asked with a smile, "This is Commander Dai, right?" "Hello. I am Duan Lei, the person in charge of the life department of the Hope Base. We have prepared meals and have arranged them in room 824 on the top floor. Crazy, take Commander Dai up first. I will be there in a while. The instructor is waiting for you upstairs." "Okay," Wang Feng nodded in agreement, then looked at Dai Guo and said, "Chief. The instructor is waiting for you upstairs. Let's go up together." Instructor, Dai Guo was a little stunned. This title seemed to remind him of something. Lu Feng beside him had a somewhat unnatural expression. He didn't want to hang around the instructor for no reason. In fact, basically no one in the entire Hope Base would go to the instructor for no reason. Do you know how he feels now? Once you hit the gun, he will let you do any training subject at will, and you won't even find a place to cry. However, seeing Wang Feng's eyes, Lu Feng had to sigh, droop his head, and walk listlessly with Dai Guo into the clubhouse, because just now when Duan Lei said that they should go up, he winked at the clubhouse, which was the direction of the elevator. It seemed that Doomsday really invested a lot and even opened the elevator that had never been used. Wang Feng led the way first, followed by Lu Feng, who was listless, and Dai Guo, who looked thoughtful. When they came to the elevator, Wang Feng pressed the button and the elevator opened directly. Dai Guo smiled bitterly again. What the hell, they couldn't even turn on the lights there, and they were still using the elevator here. You are an evolver, can you die if you walk 2 steps? Do you want to bring such a pretentious person? Although thinking about it, Dai Guo still walked into the elevator with an envious look on his face, and then said to Lu Feng with a smile, "Ha ha ha ha. Old Lu. You are really extravagant. Have you found something to replace the fuel of the generator?" "That is not available yet, but the power station is already under construction. It is estimated that the generator will not be needed soon," Lu Feng said, a little depressed. He was about to go to the instructor, and he was in no mood to laugh again. Power station, Dai Guo was stunned, and then he sighed. This Hope Base is really blessed by nature. Relying on the Black Dragon River, it is really not difficult to build a power station. As long as you find someone who knows the business, it will probably take less than a month for the power station to be built. Hearing this, Dai Guo strengthened his confidence. Even if he could not convince the leader here to hand over this Hope Base to his commander, he would go back and tell his commander that if they merged into the Hope Base, everyone was human, and they were all from the same country. Even if they borrowed a place, it would be okay, right? As long as it was on the Black Dragon Bridge, it would be safer than his own base. The elevator reached the top floor, which was the floor where Li Yingning lived. Most of the main generals of the combat unit were still sleeping on this floor. After the evolution process, Wang Feng took the lead in walking out of the elevator and leading the way. He did not go directly to the instructor's room, but first took Dai Guo and Lu Feng to room 824 mentioned by Doomsday. This room was a conference room with only one single room and enough space. Pushing open the door, I saw a large oval conference table in the middle. In the empty part in the middle, there was a grill, on which a mutant beast the size of an ordinary pig was being grilled. 3 people were busy there, sprinkling seasonings, rolling the mutant beast, and holding a knife to keep scratching the mutant beast so that it could be grilled more flavorfully. These 3 people were Tang Haoshan, Gui Wuivang, and Li Gu. Seeing the 3 people happily grilling the mutant beast, Lu Feng couldn't help but feel a little strange. Didn't they know that the instructor would come soon? They were actually laughing so happily. Leaving Lu Feng and Dai Guo here, Wang Feng turned around and went out to Li Yingning's room. After knocking on the door gently, Li Yingning opened the door and looked at Wang Feng and asked softly, "Is he here?" "Yes. He is here." In the conference room, Wang Feng nodded. "Let's go. Let me see. What has this little guy become now?" Li Yingning said softly, with a look of reminiscence on her face. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 278. Hearing Li Yingning's words, Wang Feng couldn't help but be startled. "Little guy? Are you talking about Dai Guo?" Cold sweat suddenly broke out on Wang Feng's head. The instructor looked to be in his 30s or 40s, but he actually called Dai Guo, an old general in his 50s, little guy. Li Yingning ignored Wang Feng and walked directly towards the conference room. Wang Feng didn't think much and quickly followed. After arriving at the conference room, Wang Feng went up first and opened the door, and Li Yingning stepped in. "Ha ha ha ha. Old Lu. I said your life here is really good. Old Dai, don't want to leave." After seeing this, in the conference room, Dai Guo was chatting with Lu Feng when he saw Lu Feng leaving. When the instructor came in, Dai Guo's laughing face suddenly stiffened. Then he looked at Li Yingning with a ghostly look on his face and said in a tongue-tied manner, teach, instructor." Li Yingning walked directly to Dai Guo and said softly, "What? Have you even forgotten the rules? Ah, Daiguo suddenly woke up, stood up in front of the instructor, and shouted loudly, "Comrade instructor! The third phase student of the military soul training camp, 0324, Daiguo, is reporting to you. Please give instructions." Li Yingning nodded slightly, "Yeah. It's okay. It's not that old. At least, it's still full of energy. Sit down." "Yes," Daiguo agreed loudly, and then sat on the chair he was sitting on before again, but this time he was not as casual as before. He sat there upright, with his knees together and his hands on his hands. On the knees, the body is straight, the expression is serious, the nose is looking at the mouth is asking, and the heart is not moving. Wang Feng, Lu Feng, and others were all shocked when they saw Daiguo's reaction. Others did not know, but Wang Feng knew that a major general would not be taken seriously by Li Yingning, but even Wang Feng did not thinking of how honest Daiguo was in front of Li Yingning. How could he look like a general? "I'm afraid Daiguo won't behave like this in front of his commander, right?" What particularly surprised Wang Feng was what Daiguo said when he saw Li Yingning just now, "Reporting to you. Please give instructions." When this sentence was spoken by the soldier, it meant that he recognized that the person in front of him was his commander, and that he was willing to obey all orders issued by this commander. Therefore, even when Wang Feng first met Daiguo, he just said, "I've met the chief." "Hello, chief." Wang Feng's statement means that I recognize you as the leader, but I may not necessarily accept your orders because I am not your subordinate. But Daiguo met Li Yingning as a subordinate, and judging from Daiguo's performance, clearly claiming to be a student of Li Yingning, what is going on? Daiguo, a major general in his 50s, was actually a student trained by Li Yingning. And it's the third issue. So how old is Li Yingning this year? Old Tang. Are you done baking? Why are you so slow? After Li Yingning sat down, he stopped paying attention to Daiguo and instead asked Tang Haoshan and others who seemed to be more disciplined because of his arrival. "Ah. Instructor. Okay, okay. Come right away." Tang Haoshan quickly removed the roasted meat from the outer layer of the mutated beast, then put it on a plate and brought it over. Li Yingning reached for 2 bottles of white wine and threw one to Daiguo. Then she opened the bottle in her hand and took a big sip directly to the mouth of the bottle. Then she grabbed a piece of barbecue and stuffed it into her mouth, chewing it carefully. He held it until he swallowed it, then he said, "Daiguo, you have graduated, you don't need to be so formal, you should eat and drink as you should, don't act like a girl." "Yes, instructor." Daiguo relaxed a little, opened the bottle of wine that Li Yingning had just thrown to him, and raised it in front of Li Yingning. "Instructor, let me toast you. Isn't it time to ask me for a base after toasting me with this glass of wine?" Li Yingning glanced at Daiguo, picked up the bottle and touched it with Daiguo, and then took another sip from the bottle. "Ah. It's been a long time since I've had a drink. It's so refreshing," Daiguo said half of his words, but suddenly he held it back, then smiled at Li Yingning and said, "Hey, instructor. It depends on what you said, how dare you? If you give me 2 more courages here, I won't dare to take advantage of your base. TCH. Don't come here, kid. Do you dare to say that you have no other ideas when you come here?" Although Li Yingning's expression did not change at all, there was a hint of contempt in her tone. "Hey, instructor. Don't say that. Before I came here, Lao Dai, I did have some thoughts, but after seeing you, I definitely have no more thoughts." Daiguo promises that I have absolutely no thoughts. Maybe he drank a little. However, Daiguo also let go a little bit, and said to Li Yingning with a playful smile, without any concern that he was a major general in his 50s. Wang Feng, Lu Feng, and others were shocked. They didn't expect that Daiguo would look like this in front of the instructor. "Which base are you at now?" Who manages it? Li Yingning asked. Instructor. If someone else asks, I will definitely say it is our commander Wang Tao. But now that you are asking, let me tell the truth. Our base is nominally managed by Wang Tao, the commander-in-chief of our R Group army, but in fact there is a mysterious guy above him, but I really don't know his identity. Dai Guo said with a mysterious face, that person has only appeared a few times, but I think our commander is like a mouse meeting a cat after meeting him. Hey! Just like me in front of you now? Hee. You don't even know his name. Li Yingning frowned slightly, seeming to be thinking about who this mysterious figure was. This. Dai Guo looked at Wang Feng and the others. If you have anything to say, tell me, these are all my students, Li Yingning said, then looked at Wang Feng and others. Sit down too, what are you doing there? If you want to train, I will give you a subject directly. After hearing what Li Yingning said, Wang Feng and Lu Feng hurriedly sat around the conference table, picked up the wine, opened it themselves, and drank slowly on the side. At this time, the door of the conference room was pushed open, and several evolved guardian warriors walked in with a lot of dishes, and then placed the dishes on the conference table. Dai Guo's eyes widened when he saw these dishes. Forget about 2 pots of potato stew, there are 4 plates of fried vegetables. Dai Guo has never seen green vegetables since the end of the world, so it would be nice to have some pickled mustard left over from before. We have a large place, and we have some free space for growing vegetables. Seeing Dai Guo's expression, Wang Feng explained. Alas! It's so irritating to see people grow together. We don't even have a place to grow food, and we have to go outside to plant in fear every day. It's good for you, you still have room to grow vegetables. Dai Guo shook his head and smiled bitterly. Don't interrupt. What's that guy's name? Li Yingning asked. Oh. I don't know his name, but I heard him introduce himself as the Apostle Peter, Dai Guo said honestly, and then he couldn't wait to pick up the vegetables on the plate with his chopsticks and put them into his mouth. Judging from his anxious look, he probably would have been able to catch him immediately if the instructor was not present. Apostle Peter, Li Yingning was stunned, and then a smile appeared in his eyes. Wang Feng also suddenly remembered that when Luo Kaying met the instructor for the first time, he said that his name was Apostle Paul. Is there something between the two? What connection? Duan Lei also came up with the guardian soldiers. After hearing the name Apostle Peter, he looked directly at Li Yingning. Wang Feng didn't know that Duan Lei, a Christian, would definitely not be unclear about the identities of Peter and Paul. They are almost the same, both are disciples of Jesus, except that Paul was the vessel chosen by Jesus after he ascended to heaven, while Peter was by Jesus' side when Jesus was still walking on earth. Both of them can be said to be Jesus' apostles. Thinking of the 12 disciples of Jesus at that time, and thinking of the instructor's previous assassination, the identity of the Apostle Peter is already obvious. But now the instructor didn't mention it, and Duan Lei didn't dare to talk. He just sat down and ate some casually. Duan Lei didn't drink. He thought drinking would anesthetize his brain. The instructor never had the habit of persuading people to drink, so everyone started focus on the food on the table. After Tang Haoshan and the other 3 roasted the mutated beast completely, they took it off the barbecue grill, disassembled it, put it on the table, and then sat at the table to eat and drink together. In less than 20 minutes, the food on the table was basically wiped out. Dai Guo touched his belly and looked quite satisfied. After eating the meal, Dai Guo seemed to be a little relaxed. He looked at the general said, "Instructor, your place is so nice. When I came in, I almost didn't feel that this was the end of the world. It felt a bit like going back to the past. You are worthy of being an instructor. These are all caused by Xiaofeng and Xiaoliai. I am not involved. Moreover, this base belongs to Xiaofeng. I am just here to make a living and help him train those soldiers," Li Yingning said lightly. Wang Feng and Duan Lei looked at each other, but neither of them spoke. The instructor must have meant what he said. Although even Duan Lei didn't understand, neither of them refuted, let alone spoke. Dai Guo seemed a little confused. He turned to look at Duan Lei and Wang Feng, with a questioning look in his eyes, but he did not speak, because the instructor Li Yingning's words seemed to be directed at these two little guys. I appreciate it very much, but Dai Guo doesn't dare to be as casual as before. When Wang Feng saw Dai Guo's eyes, he nodded and replied, yes. Chief. This base was established by me, Xiao Lei and Lao Lu. However, nominally, I hope the base belongs to me personal. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 279. Hearing Wang Feng's words, Dai Guo frowned. You are alone? Why do you do this? Dai Guo's tone was somewhat dissatisfied. To prevent division. We don't want the base we have worked hard to run to be disrupted by some people with ulterior motives, Duan Lei explained. I believe you have seen the environment here. It is no exaggeration to say that the environment here should be considered to be more suitable for human survival in the end times. However, when the sense of crisis is over and there is no threat of death, the desires in people's hearts will rise. We will accept survivors from outside, no matter what their identity is, no matter what their abilities are, as long as they are willing to come here, we welcome them, but when they first come, they may be satisfied with the environment here, but over time, some people will have some new ideas, and people's hearts will never be satisfied. In order to prevent this, we have adopted this mechanism. No matter who it is, as long as they are not satisfied with the system of our base, they can leave immediately, but don't dream of getting anything here, because everything here is created by our hard work. We will not accept anyone who wants to share a piece of the pie. Duan Lei looked at Dai Guo and said with a firm look in his eyes. Dai Guo was stunned. Duan Lei was reminding him. Dai Guo heard it. It seems that this young man is not that simple. He actually saw his intention. Dai Guo did plan to borrow a place here to settle the survivors in his base. In his opinion, it should be no problem for them to occupy such a large place. But now Duan Lei's words have directly blocked his idea of borrowing a place, and he can't even say it. Duan Lei said it very clearly. Why should we give others a share of the base we have worked hard to build? I think you can abide by the rules of the base and accept their control. If you want to occupy a piece of land and make your own decisions, get out of here. Duan Lei's words made Dai Guo a little embarrassed, but he immediately turned his head to look at the instructor. He. Instructor. This base, what position do you hold? The instructor said calmly, I am just a freeloader. I came here after their base was established, so you don't need to try to get close to me. Dai Guo was frustrated, and the smile on his face was a little awkward, but he immediately asked, Instructor. So what do you mean, should I stay here or? You go back. Xiaofeng and a few people will follow you, as for the people you brought, stay, I will see how many of them can be used, the instructor said calmly, and after that, he stood up and left, indicating that he had finished speaking. Watching Li Yingning's figure disappear at the door of the conference room, Dai Guo was a little stunned. Li Yingning's order was very simple, that is, he needed to return to his base, and he also had to take Wang Feng and their people, and his own soldiers had to stay here and receive training from the instructor. Li Yingning's sentence, see how many of them can be used, is what he meant. However, Dai Guo did not object, because when he was trained by Li Yingning, the military chief told them that as long as they accepted Li Yingning's training, no matter which unit they were assigned to in the future, as long as Li Yingning gave an order, they must follow it as the best order. This was a prerequisite for participating in the training. Those who did not want to accept it could leave immediately. Because Li Yingning was very prestigious in the military at that time, and his status was not low. Although he never had a military rank, even the generals were always respectful in front of him. Therefore, Li Yingning's identity has always been a mystery in the military. Moreover, when Dai Guo participated in the third training camp of the military soul, he was only in his 20s. Now more than 30 years have passed, and he has become much older. The Li Yingning he saw was actually no different from what he had seen before, still in his 30s or 40s, still as quiet, cold, and taciturn. Dai Guo and Wang Feng knew almost the same thing about Li Yingning's identity, that is, they only knew that he was the captain of the Dark Assassin Special Forces team, and the Dark Assassin team, including Li Yingning, had only 12 members. After its establishment, no more members were recruited. What was most admirable was that the Dark Assassins had carried out countless missions, all of which perfectly achieved the mission objectives, and no member died. This was a miracle in the military. In the world's special forces rankings, the Dark Assassins had always been at the top of the list. No one questioned their status, especially after Li Yingning uprooted the killer organization and the mercenary organization. No one dared to provoke the Dark Assassins. Now, Li Yingning said what he said, and then turned and left, without paying any attention to Dai Guo's opinion, but Dai Guo knew that he had no way to disobey this order. He had to do whatever the instructor said, whether he was willing or not. But it didn't matter. After he brought Wang Feng and the others back, what to do with his base would be the business of the higher UPS. It was not his turn to worry about it. What's more, he really hoped to merge his base into the Hope base. He didn't care who was in power. He just thought that this would be best for those ordinary survivors. In their base, ordinary survivors also starve and only have a bowl of porridge to drink every day, because their food is really not enough. Although they have opened up planting sites outside, there are no zombie corpses to use as fertilizer. The growth cycle of crops is enough to make people collapse. Even after they harvest the corn, they grind the whole cob and use it all to make food. This is how they persist until now. Chief. Since the instructor said it, then. Wang Feng looked at Dai Guo and asked tentatively. Of course we must carry out what the instructor said. We will set off early tomorrow morning. I will take you to our camp, Dai Guo said happily. Okay. No problem. Does the chief want to take a look at our place, or just rest? Wang Feng asked. Oh. Let me go shopping again. Get familiar with it and see what else shocks me. Just ask Lao Lu to accompany me, Dai Guo said. Okay. Lao Lu. You accompany the leader around our base for a while. When he gets tired, find a room on your floor for the leader to stay, Duan Lei said to Lu Feng, then thought of something and moved toward him again. Dai Guo said, Chief. Those soldiers of yours. Oh. Just call me when they come back. I will just hand them over to the instructor directly. It is their blessing to be trained by the instructor. Dai Guo immediately understood what Duan Lei meant. Okay. That's it? Chief, let's go and take a walk first. Duan Lei nodded to Dai Guo and looked at Lu Feng. Lu Feng agreed and quickly pulled Dai Guo up. The two of them were joking and walking out into the conference room. After watching the two people leave, Wang Feng looked at Duan Lei, and then said to Tang Haoshan and others in the conference room, let's go to the instructor and ask what attitude we will take towards the people in that camp tomorrow. No. I'll wipe it. You two just go. Anyway, we just fight, and the instructor will be exempted. Tang Haoshan refused without thinking. Duan Lei and Wang Feng looked at each other and felt helpless. It is said that they have also received the instructor's training, so they shouldn't be so afraid of a man like Tang Haoshan who is not afraid of anything, right? Has there been any change in the instructor's training methods? But these people didn't say anything, and they had no choice. Since they didn't go, Du Enlai and Wang Feng followed them. They walked out of the conference room directly and went to the instructor's room. It seemed that Li Yingning knew that these two people were coming, so she didn't close the door. She was sitting on the sofa drinking tea. The two of them were not polite and sat down directly opposite the instructor. Then Wang Feng picked up the teapot and gave it to himself and Du Enlai also poured 2 cups of tea and drank them honestly. After 3 cups of tea, Du Enlai asked, "Instructor, what attitude do we need to take towards the camp over there tomorrow?" Du Enlai looked at the instructor with a questioning look. According to Du Enlai's guess, the Apostle Peter is definitely a member of the Dark Assassin, that is, the instructor's subordinate, so he should be one of his own. Take this. When you get there, don't worry about the commander, just ask to see the Apostle Peter. If he doesn't let you see him, just say it was the Apostle Paul who said it, and let him ask for instructions himself. The Apostle Peter will definitely see you. Then you give this to him, and then you can do whatever he says. Li Yingning threw out an envelope and said calmly. Du Enlai picked up the envelope and hesitated for a moment. Instead of opening it and reading it, he handed it directly to Wang Feng. Wang Feng also did not dare to look at it and directly put it into the apocalypse space and then looked at Li Yingning. "What else do you want me to do? That's all I have to say. Before you meet the Apostle Peter, try not to conflict with them. Of course, if there are some shady people, you don't have to be polite. Even if you kill a few, it will be fine." After Li Yingning finished speaking, he waved his hand casually, indicating that they could leave. Upon seeing this, Du Enlai and Wang Feng stood up together. After saluting Li Yingning, they walked out of the room together and closed the door. After the two left, Li Yingning turned to look out the window and murmured, "Only one came out. I don't know when the other 10 will show up." Du Enlai and Wang Feng went downstairs together and came to Du Enlai's room. In fact, this room should nominally belong to Wang Feng now, because Du Enlai has moved to Shen Yishan's place, so only Wang Feng lives there. Here, however, due to Lu Wanting's relationship, Wang Feng does not live here. Well, maybe he will stay here tonight, because Lu Wanting may not come back tonight. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 280. Early the next morning, Wang Feng and the others gathered at the entrance of the club. Wang Feng looked refreshed, but his legs seemed a little weak. It seemed that Lu Wanting should have returned yesterday. Dai Guo and Lu Feng were also here at this time. Dai Guo handed over all his soldiers to the instructor Li Yingning yesterday and planned to take Wang Feng and the others back. Even the supplies those soldiers were searching for in Haki City were not included. I asked for it and left it all to the Hope Base. Because of Li Yingning's appearance, Dai Guo put all his previous thoughts behind him. What happened between the two bases after that was the matter of the military bosses above and had nothing to do with him. He just had to take people back. When leaving, Li Yingning had no other orders. He just asked him to take people back to his base, so he could just carry out the order. In fact, even if Li Yingning asked him to stay in the Hope Base, he would obey the order. After all, he did not dare not listen to the words of the previous military chief. Even now in the apocalypse, Dai Guo still regarded himself as a soldier and would absolutely obey the orders from above. It was unconditional obedience, and I never thought about forming a team and working alone. After everything was ready, Wang Feng and Gui Weivu took the lead towards the hurricane, while Lu Feng and Dai Guo followed. This time when they went to Dai Guo's base, they hoped that the base would dispatch Wang Feng, Lu Feng, and Gui Weivu. These 3 people, because Du Enlai has judged, there is definitely no need to fight this time. Even if there were some minor conflicts before, when the Apostle Peter appears, the conflicts will no longer exist. Du Enlai has already determined in his heart that Apostle Peter is definitely a member of the backstab, that is, the instructor's man. Since the actual leader of that base is a member of the backstab, and Wang Feng has the personal letter given to him by the instructor. This trip should be very important. It went smoothly, but Duan Lei still didn't know what kind of order the instructor gave to the assassin member. The hurricane slowly drove out of the Bishui community and headed towards the Black Dragon Bridge like lightning. Duan Lei arranged for Tang Haoshan and the others to start gathering troops. They would lead the team, plus the awakened Guardian warriors and all the Legion of Hope soldiers. Go to Haki City to scavenge supplies. Time is urgent now, and things useful to the base must be moved back first. In addition, after Wang Feng comes back this time, they are probably going to annihilate the zombies in Juking City, so during this period, Tang Haoshan and the others, his mission is to try his best to bring all the useful materials in Haki City back to the Hope base. After Wang Feng and the others crossed the Black Dragon Bridge, under the guidance of Daiguo, they headed north. Fortunately, there were roads all the way, so their speed was very fast. However, no matter how fast they were, because of the distance, when they arrived at Daiguo's base, it was completely dark. Because Wang Feng and the others turned on their car lights, the sentries in the base spotted them from a distance. However, because they saw only one car and the driver must be a human, they were not too nervous. It was just that when they approached at that moment, a searchlight was turned on to shine on them. However, after Daiguo got out of the car and showed his identity, the searchlight was also extinguished. This base is actually a military camp. It was the headquarters of the R Group Army in the past. After the apocalypse, it was used by the R Group Army as a base. Fortunately, the military camp itself has walls, which saves trouble. You only need to guard the gate because it is dark. So Wang Feng didn't look carefully. Anyway, the military camps were basically the same style, simple and neat, without any fancy. After driving into the base, Hurricane followed Daiguo's guidance again. Along the way, Wang Feng saw that the original training ground had been turned into farmland. Anyone who has seen the military camp knows that the open space in the military camp is actually the largest number, especially the garrison of this kind of group army, has training tasks every day, so those large numbers of soldiers naturally require many training grounds to accommodate them. The hurricane drove directly into the depths of the military camp and stopped in front of a 7- or 8-story building. The interior of the military camp still maintained the true character of soldiers. At the door of the building, 2 soldiers stood upright and motionless. Stand there. Daiguo got out of the car first and walked towards the door of the building. Wang Feng led Lu Feng and Gui Weivu to follow behind Daiguo. The guard at the door did not stop him, but only saluted a military salute. The 4 of them walked inside, return gift. After entering the building, a soldier appeared at the door, came to Daiguo, saluted with a military salute, and said, "Commander Dai, you are back." "Well, where is the commander?" Daiguo asked. The commander has already fallen asleep," the soldier said in embarrassment. Because they still maintain the tradition of the military camp and the electricity here is insufficient, these people go to bed very early. Daiguo knows this. He looked back at Wang Feng with a questioning look on his face. Seeing Daiguo's reaction, the soldier on the opposite side couldn't help but feel a little strange, because Wang Feng was already young, and with his tender face, he looked probably less than 20 years old. The soldier originally thought that the soldier was Daiguo's orderly, but he didn't expect that Daiguo actually looked at him and wanted to ask, "Who is this? So awesome. Does the military commander even want to look at his face?" Wang Feng ignored the surprise on the soldier's face, thought for a moment and said, "Let's talk about it tomorrow morning." "Okay. Then I'll arrange a place for you." Daiguo nodded, and was about to say something to the soldier when Wang Feng pulled Daiguo directly, "Chief. No need. We can just sleep in the car." Daiguo turned around and looked at Wang Feng's expression, nodded and said, "Okay then. You can do whatever you want. I will go find the commander early tomorrow morning and then inform you. Okay, Wang Feng didn't say much. After nodding, he walked out of the door with Lu Feng and Gui Weivong and returned to the hurricane. Then, he opened the hurricane, parked at the door a little to one side and opened the door. He gave it up and got ready to rest in the car. Chief. Who is this? The soldier behind Dai Guo asked strangely. Don't ask questions you shouldn't know. Dai Guo looked at the soldier, said a few words, and walked upstairs. This building was originally their military headquarters. After the apocalypse, it became an office. There was a place for people to live again. Originally, they had special accommodation in the military camp, but because the military camp accepted a large number of survivors, all the houses were vacated for those survivors to live in. Fortunately, there are many bunks and bunks in the military camp, all of which are put together, so a lot of people can live there. What's more, there are also many military tents that can be used, so that the survivors will not sleep outside. However, the military leaders, can only live in the military headquarters. Wang Feng and the others lay down and slept in the hurricane car all night. In fact, the evolved body is very strong, so it is no problem to go without sleep for a few days, but it is fine anyway. We can't have three grown men staring at each other in the car. Bar. Early the next morning, the three of them walked out of the hurricane. Because they were in someone else's military camp, the three of them did not make a high-profile barbecue. They just took out some barbecued meat and ate casually. The three of them stood on the roof of the hurricane. While eating, I looked at the military camp. Since it was dawn, people began to move around in the military camp. This place is similar to the previous Hope Base. People come to the military headquarters to have breakfast. Whether they are soldiers in military uniforms or survivors in ragged clothes, they all gather here. The huge hurricane stopped at the door. The survivors didn't even look at them. Only the soldiers, and occasionally a few looked at Wang Feng and the others, with curious looks in their eyes. Wang Feng secretly sighed. Judging from the reactions of these survivors, Wang Feng knew that their lives were not good. They had even lost their curiosity. Apart from food, they no longer cared about other things. This kind of the reaction was almost exactly the same as that of the survivors when the Hope Base was first established. Wang Feng was sighing. Three soldiers walked out of the military headquarters. There was an acquaintance among them. It was Dai Jianfeng. Dai Jianfeng couldn't help but be startled when he saw Wang Feng and the other three on the top of the hurricane. Then, Dai Jianfeng narrowed his eyes and whispered to the two officers beside him, said something, and then the three of them walked towards the hurricane together, with hostility in their eyes. Wang Feng secretly sighed in his heart. He had already let go of Dai Jianfeng at the beginning, but he didn't expect that this guy not only didn't appreciate it, but also hated him. Just now he clearly saw what Dai Jianfeng said to the two officers, "These are the enemy, it's them, robbed our storage warehouse. What are you doing here?" After arriving in front of the hurricane, Dai Jianfeng pointed at Wang Feng and asked, "Could it be that a hurricane is coming for us? Even if a hurricane comes, it's not your turn to receive it, right?" Gui Weivong said sarcastically, "It's not your turn to ask us what we are here to do. You don't have the qualifications." Dai Jianfeng immediately became angry and his face turned red. He had been thinking about climbing up, but unfortunately he was always afraid of not being able to climb up. He originally thought that if this mission could be successfully completed, he might be able to get rid of his deputy position and lead the army alone. I didn't expect that both tasks were ruined by Wang Feng and the others. If Wang Feng and the others hadn't been merciful, Dai Jianfeng might not have been able to come back. However, after Dai Jianfeng came back, what he was thinking about was not that Wang Feng and the others had not killed him, but how Wang Feng and the others had destroyed his mission, causing him to come back in despair with nearly 1,000 soldiers. Although the commander did not say anything, he could clearly see the gloom on his face. Last night, he had been thinking about how to take revenge, but thinking about the strength of Wang Feng and the others, he couldn't help but feel a little discouraged. More than 1,000 evolvers were definitely not something their base could resist, and it was impossible for the base to fight because of him. There are so many evolutionists facing each other. Just when he was about to give up, he didn't expect Wang Feng and the others to appear in his territory, and there were only 3 of them. Because they didn't close the car door when they came out, the inside was clearly visible. Dai Jianfeng suddenly felt that his opportunity for revenge had come.